الاتحاد السوفيتي
الاتحاد السوفيتي.
On December 25, 1991, the Soviet flag has been lowered for the last time and forever, and the country area expanded to 1/6 of the land to fill the largest country in history. His country has thousands of nuclear warheads and a very strong army. Hello everyone, and now we will talk about the Soviet state. Okay, to understand the events of the story, we must go back in time. But this time we will return to the war between Russia and Japan. And in 1904, Forest War broke out. It was the cause of this war, Manchuria. This region is the cause of the dispute between of the two, and the result was war, Japan victory and defeat of the Russian. After the end of the war, the Russian people were very angry because of poverty and backwardness, so much so that the Russian people hated Emperor Nicholas. Nikolai, who made everyone hate him and lost his prestige and the prestige of the Russian by leasing him from Japan. Because of this, Russian people staged demonstrations and protests demanding improvement in the situation. It is said that the number of the demonstrators reaches 300,000 demonstrators. A group of the demonstrators went to protest in front of the Winter Palace, which is the palace of the Emperor Nikolai. And here was the decider, because the Russian police welcomed to the demonstrate by shooting them and kill more than 4,000 demonstrators. And here the story begins. The Russian people, after asking for improvement in conditions, but no one fulfills their condition, on the contrary that police shoot them, they decided to build a brood called the Soviet. They are people who believe in socialist thought, but the people on this council are divided into two parts, Menshik and the Bolshevik. In 1914, and this year is the year of the First World War, France, Germany and Britain are fighting each other. Suddenly, Nikolai decided to go to the war. But the people refused because the Russian entered was economy resist. But Nikolai was determined to enter the war and wanted to restore his prestige. But Russian does not have the means to enter the war. Actually, in August of 1914, the Russian army entered the war. But the Russian government was preventing the Russian people from getting food and medicines in order to send them into the Russian army. The Russian people endured a 2-year famine. The Russian army was in a state of defeat from Germany, and here Nikolai was afraid from himself and his family, so he deducted from the retreat the capital and gave up the post.
Товарищи! Рабоче-крестьянская революция!
Here Vladimir with the people. What are you demons? They said the people are bread. Before Vladimir launched a revelation was Sorgan was the land of bread and peace. Actually the people were convinced of the Vladimir word and made into seize power. Officially, congratulations of the end of the Russian rule and our end to Soviet rule. After that, the authors managed to catch Nikolai and his family, and they were all shot dead. Okay, what happened after these incidents is that Russians slipped into two armies, the Soviet army and the remaining Russian army. Here, Russian entered into a civil war from 7 years, but in the end, the Soviet won, and then they were able to control all the lands of Russia. The creation of the Soviet Union, and led by leader Vladimir, was officially announced. In 1922, Vladimir died, and President Joseph Stalin came to power. But Stalin was a very brutal man. In 1941, after allying with the Soviets, Hitler attacked them with the largest invasion in history. In this battle, Hitler equipped 3 million soldiers to invade the Soviets. The important thing is that the Second World War ended and the United States and the United Kingdom and the Soviet won. Here, the countries that dominated the world were the United States and the Soviet. Okay, but the problem, however, is that the United States and the Soviet had very different ideas of each other, so we entered the Cold War. In 1953, Stalin died and a president named Khrushchev took over. But the end of the Soviets began after the president named Gorbachev came to power. Gorbachev pointed out that the country was suffering from a war in Afghanistan, and this war draining the Soviet economy, and addition to the spread of the other things like that spread of the guns. The situation was bad economy, so he decided to come up with a plan called Perestroika plan, in the sense that he built everything according to Western thinking, and the first thing he did was allow foreign companies to the enter. Okay, but all attempts failed because the number of unemployed people increased in the country. The number of the murder and repairs increased as the Soviet reached the storage of the state corps. Gangs ran the affairs of the state. Because of these matters, countries began to withdraw from the Soviet Union and declared their independence, starting with Lithuania, Orleans, and Ukraine and Georgia, and many more. Finally, on December 25, 1991, the Soviet flag was lowered from Moscow and the flag of Russia was raised, marking the end of the Soviet era and the beginning of the era of the Russian Federation.